Mr. Chiwaridzo, welcome back to the interview. I'm going to ask you the first question. Is in two parts. The first part reads as follows. What does the principle of inherent jurisdiction entail? Give 3 instances where the inherent jurisdiction of the High Court is outstayed.
The principle of inherent jurisdiction defines what the High Court is all about. It is jurisdiction that is created by statute and it is outstayed where a particular law specifically states that the court shall not have jurisdiction. For instance, where in labor law issues, where the jurisdiction of the court lies, of all labor matters lies with the labor court, and in instances where common law basically ousts the jurisdiction of the High Court.
The second question is also in 2 parts. The first part is as follows. Name 2 situations provided for under the High Court Rules 2021 in which an order or judgment of the court may be rescinded. The second part, what 2 requirements in respect of which type of case, what 2 requirements in respect of each type of case must a judge address before rescinding the order or judgment?
Yes. An order of the court may be rescinded where it is granted in error. And an order of the court may be also rescinded where an application is made for such rescission of the order. That is my response to the first part. If I may request that you repeat the second part, Honorable Chief Justice.
You want me to repeat?
The second part.
The second part?
Yes.
What 2 requirements in respect of each type of case must a judge address before rescinding the order or judgment?
A judge may rescind an order where there is good and sufficient cause for the rescission of that order.
The third question has 3 parts. The first part is as follows. What do you understand by the concept of presumptive penalty? And B, what is the difference between a presumptive penalty and a minimum mandatory sentence? And then 3, state 2 effects the sentencing guidelines have had on the criminal justice system.
A presumptive sentence is a sentence that is presumed to be fit for a particular offense. Then the second part, Honorable CJ, of the question.
You want me to read it again?
Yes.
To set it out. All right. What is the difference between a presumptive penalty and a minimum mandatory sentence?
A presumptive penalty, as I had indicated, is presumed on a particular type of offense, and a mandatory penalty or sentence is set by the law. For instance, if you commit an offense, say stock theft, there is a specific penalty attached to that offense that is prescribed by the law. And that penalty is mandatory. Once an accused person is convicted, then he faces the mandatory penalty.
Yes. The fourth question has two parts. The first part, state three principles that govern the conduct of virtual hearing proceedings in the High Court. Then the second part, what is the role of a judge in the adoption of a virtual hearing as a proceeding in the High Court?
I will bother you once more, Chief Justice, Honorable.
Sorry?
I will bother you once more, Honorable Chief Justice.
To repeat.
Thank you, sir.
All right. The first part states three principles that govern the conduct of virtual hearing proceedings in the High Court. And the second part, what is the role of a judge in the adoption of a virtual hearing as a proceeding in the High Court?
Thank you, Honorable Chief Justice. Firstly, in a virtual hearing, there must be an assurance that all the processes, the pleadings that have to be filed have been filed, that the parties to the hearing are clear and in attendance virtually, and that all the parties involved in the hearing, in the virtual hearing, are well connected to hear and understand each other. And the judge in a virtual hearing matter must be guided by the fact that all that has to be submitted has been submitted, and everyone is in a position to hear and understand the proceedings that are being conducted virtually. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. I'll now hand you over to the other commissioners for questions. Yes, TCJ.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, CJ. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Honorable Judge.
Yes, I have two questions. One very short one. You have never been a magistrate, have you?
No.
No. Very well. So my question is, When does a law become unconstitutional? What is the effect of a declaration of unconstitutionality of a law on pending cases in which the unconstitutional law was to be applied? I can repeat the question if you wish.
Thank you, Honorable.
Very well. What does a law, when does a law become unconstitutional? That's the first part. And then what is the effect of a declaration of unconstitutionality of a law on pending cases in which the unconstitutional law was to be applied?
Yes, a law becomes unconstitutional where it is inconsistent, or to the extent at which it is inconsistent with the Constitution. And where there are pending matters and a law has been declared unconstitutional, the duty of the court is to hear the matters. The challenge of their unconstitutionality becomes an issue where enforcement is involved.
That is your answer?
Yes.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Chief Justice, and good afternoon, Mr. Chiwaridzo.
Good afternoon, Commissioner.
Yes, I've got one question, but it can come in two parts. Still on the Constitution. Mr. Chiwaridzo, can you please explain the concept of constitutionalism and what role does the judiciary play, if any, in upholding a culture of constitutionalism?
Yes. The concept of constitutionalism is where all laws are subject to the fundamental law and derive their legitimacy from the fundamental law. And it is only when they are consistent with the fundamental law that such laws can be deemed legitimate and can therefore be enforced or become effective. The second part, Commissioner, I'm sorry.
The second part was what role does the judiciary play, if any, in upholding a culture of constitutionalism?
Yes, constitutionalism arises out of the values that are espoused by the Constitution, what the citizenry expect. And the role of the judiciary in such instances is to ensure that the values that the citizenry hold dear are enjoyed by the same citizenry through the application of the law. Where the rights have to be protected, it is the role of the judiciary to ensure that the rights are protected. Where laws have to be enforced equally, it is the role of the judiciary to ensure that the laws are enforced. Thereby, the values which the aspirations of the citizenry are realized. That would be my answer.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Chief Justice. Mr. Chiwaridzo, before I ask my substantive question, if I may just clarify, I was going through the questionnaire which you signed here, and from it appears that you say that you set up MT Chiwaridzo and Company in 2005, correct?
That's correct, Commissioner.
And then you you also then say that you worked for TN Holdings from 2008 to 2011.
Yes.
So what I wanted to find out there is what became of the practice as you then went to join TN Holdings.
Yes, the practice remained because my work at TN Holdings was basically consultancy. I was not obliged to remove myself totally from the practice. I executed the tasks as assigned, but still remained in charge of the practice.
So, just again by way of clarification, I'm not following. Were you employed or you provided services to TN Holdings, or you were actually employed, or it was an arrangement with your employer that you could run your practice, or at least at the same time being employed?
Yes, that was the arrangement, because the nature of my work at TN was basically consultancy. To the extent that even when I went back full-time to my practice, I still provided the consultants services to TN Holdings.
Thank you. Then my substantive question follows now. I'm sure the Chief Justice wouldn't mind if you jotted down, because it's in two parts.
Yes.
It's up to you, really.
Thank you.
But I'm sure he wouldn't mind.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Right. So, in terms of Section 176 of the Constitution of Zimbabwe, the High Court, as one of the superior courts, has inherent power to protect and regulate its own processes in the interest of justice. Right. Now, question number one. Explain what this principle entails. And number two, give examples of situations where the High Court may invoke such powers.
Yes, in the interest of protecting or ensuring that justice is done, the High Court can, in some instances, cause certain rules or certain procedures to be, can I use the word ignored, where it is in the best interest of justice for such to happen. Can I give an example? An example is where a person might not directly have standing or local standing in a particular matter. But because that matter is in the public interest, or because he is representing a class of people or a person who otherwise is not able to represent himself, then in such instance, the issue of local standing or standing might be overlooked, and that particular individual can be given audience by the court.
Unfortunately, I would need to follow up on that.
Yes.
So, is it your understanding that where a person lacks standing at law,
Yes.
the High Court can actually, or is permitted, to exercise its discretion
Yes.
in such a manner that, notwithstanding that lack of local standard, it will clothe a litigant with local standard? Is that what you understand it to be?
Yes, that's what I understand it to be. I'm making particular reference to Section 85 of the Constitution, where you have a person literally appearing before the court or taking up a matter to court in which ordinarily that person has no standing. But because it is in the public interest and in the interest of justice that he does so for a group of people who might not have the power, or a person who is vulnerable and might not be able to stand before the court. In such instances, the court can use its discretion to allow that particular person standing to appear before it.
Thank you, Chief Justice.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Chief Justice. I have 3 questions for you. The first question is, what is Hope for African Communities and what does it do?
Hope for African Communities is a non-governmental organization which operates in the Mashonaland, the West district of Chegutu. And what it does is it has mobilized a specific communities in that area to empower them in the way of agriculture, to empower them in the way of law, assisting them to understand how they can approach the courts or they can use the law to get justice in their circumstances. It's a farming area, and basically it's empowering the particular community agriculturally and legally. It also does other things other than the 2 that I've mentioned, but all are intended to power a specific community in the Chegutu area or Chegutu district.
Okay, my second question is, you mentioned you've had a few Supreme Court cases, although you briefed counsel.
Yes.
Can you cite one specific matter that you've had in the Supreme Court?
Yeah, it was an appeal involving a company that has since gone under. The company was Cage. It was an engineering company, and it involved a labor dispute in which the decision came against my client, and an appeal was launched in the Supreme Court after all the other stages had failed, and we briefed counsel for that particular matter.
What were the names of the parties?
It's a long time, but I still remember the acronym was CAGE. I can't remember the full name of the company, but it was based in Chitumisa. It has since gone under.
My final question, what are the divisions of the High Court?
The divisions of the High Court, there is the Criminal Division, there is the Civil Division of the High Court. There is the Commercial Division, then there is the Family Court. That would basically be my response.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief Justice.
Thank you, Chief Justice. Mr. Chiwaridzo, have you attended these interviews before?
Yes, Commissioner, I attended.
How many times?
The first time I did the written part, I didn't go any further than that. The second time I came for a similar interview.
Okay.
as this one.
Is there a difference between constitutionalism and constitutionality? And if there is, what is the difference?
Constitutionality would probably denote an adherence, strict adherence to the Constitution. Every other law, every other conduct, every other practice must be in terms of the Constitution. Constitutionalism is when all other laws, all manner of conduct are subject to the fundamental law to give them legitimacy, and so that they are able to be enforced and are effective.
And would it be consistent with constitutionalism if, for instance, the Constitution is amended to dispense with elections?
It will be inconsistent with constitutionalism. It will be inconsistent with constitutionalism if the Constitution is amended to dispense with the elections. It is inconsistent.
Thank you.
Thank you, CJ. Yes, Mr. Chiwaridzo, how successful is your law firm, seeing that sometimes you abandon it, go elsewhere, and come back to it?
Thank you, Honorable. I can safely say it is successful, and we have, since 2005, been able to execute our mandate on behalf of our clients in a consistent manner, much as the struggles might exist, which are basically economic. But I can safely say we have been of good use to our clients, and we have retained quite a number of our clients from way back then. And from where I am sitting, I can safely say we have done well as a practice.
Are you based in Chitungwiza, and how many are you in this law firm?
Yes, we are based in Chitungwiza. There are 2 lawyers and support staff, and once in a while we take in interns that are coming from the law schools in the country.
And you still stay in Chitungwiza? I'm not implying that you should move elsewhere. It just struck me that you stay in Chitungwiza.
Yeah, that is where I've built up my properties, and I reside in one of the properties.
Very well. Just one more question. What is your understanding of judicial ethics, and how will you apply them in your work if you are appointed as a High Court judge?
Judicial ethics refer to those norms or moral expectations that are expected of a judge. Conduct that is consistent with the office of the judge. Conduct that does not put the office of the judge into disrepute. Conduct that does not sully the good name of the Judicial Service Commission. That is basically my understanding of judicial ethics. What a judge is expected to do and how he should conduct himself.
So how are you going to apply these ethics, your knowledge of ethics, in your daily work as a judge, should we recommend you for appointment?
Yes, the application is everything that is likely to compromise your position, to compromise your office, to compromise the whole judicial system is a no. So basically, you conduct yourself, I will conduct myself in the manner or in a manner that ensures that my name as a judge, the commission that employs me, and the institution of the judiciary is not sullied, is not put into disrepute. So I will not go where I am not supposed to go. I will not do what I am not supposed to do. I will not be involved in things that specifically I am disallowed from doing.
Where are you not supposed to go as a judge?
I am not supposed to, as an example, to be seen probably in CD bars. I don't drink myself, but I'm not expecting to, as a judge, to be seen in some shabin at some place where I'm not expected to be at. I'm not going to be seen probably shouting slogans at a political rally, because I'm not expected to be at such a place. The office itself precludes me from attending at such places, because it affects the independence that is expected of the office of a judge. Thank you, Honorable.
Thank you, CJ. Maybe as a follow-up of the question from the Honorable Judge President on the measurement of the success of your law firm, you mentioned client retention. Are there any other KPIs that maybe you can share with us that you have used to measure the success of your law firm?
Sure. Apart from the growth in the client base, I'm also looking at the nature of the work. Starting out, you would probably literally expect walk-in clients. The odd bail application, the odd maintenance application. But we are at a place where we also now have corporate clients. We are at a place where we have actually created for ourselves beautiful offices that are in keeping with our time in practice. And I can safely say the two lawyers that I have are quite good lawyers, brilliant if I may add. And to attract such hard-working personnel, such committed personnel, given the mobility that is in the sector, is a pointer to the growth and success that we have attained.
Thank you for that. My second question would be, the bulk of a judge's criminal work in the High Court consists of murder trials. In your view, is the death penalty still a relevant form of sentencing in our society?
I would say the death penalty, much as it may have worked, may no longer be relevant. That would be my opinion. Why? It has been there since I started to understand what law is all about. and we have not seen a decrease in instances where one person kills another. Instead, we are at a place where violent conduct that leads to death is actually increased, and one would assume that is there no way of coming up with other methods of punishment for such crimes that will probably help inculcate in our society the unreasonableness of killing another person? Because as much as people are sentenced to death and go on death row, the next morning someone has killed somebody, and you are saying to yourself, perhaps it's time to probably review and look at other avenues that may achieve a punishment that will help in deterring or even decreasing the instances of death where people kill each other.
Thank you, CJ.
Yes, thank you. Yes.
Okay. Good afternoon, Mr. Chiwaridzo.
Good afternoon, Commissioner.
Yeah, I noticed from your CV that you last were in formal education in 1992. And while it's on your CV, you also have expressed that you have got interests in international human rights, conflict resolutions, and a few others.
Yes.
What have you done to upgrade yourself, or just to keep yourself updated in a formal way?
In a formal way, I'm actually finalizing my executive in business administration with the MSU, Midland State University.
But why didn't you write it on your CV for this particular interviews?
Perhaps it was an oversight. I'm actually a student at MSU, Harare campus. I'm only left with one module actually.
Okay, thank you, Chief Justice.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Chief Justice. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Mr. Chiwaridzo. Actually, I had a similar question to that Commissioner Chingosho has just asked. I was really worried about you having completed your Bachelor of Laws in 1992.
Yes.
Of which you graduated with a third class.
Yes.
And there's no evidence of any further studies.
Yes.
Right, as far as your CV is concerned, apart from a certificate in supervising management that you did in 2003,
Yes.
20 years ago. So, yes, you said you're studying for a master's in business?
Executive Masters in Business Administration.
Yes, executive master's in business. But I'm still worried, how current are you in terms of the developments in terms of developments in the law? And I could see that you were really struggling. I can give an example when you're answering questions to do with the sentencing guidelines.
I can say perhaps my interactions with organizations such as HAC, such as Justice for Children, has kept me abreast probably in relation to what they do, but that has literally assisted in me probably just being in the know of what is currently happening. I might miss a thing or two, but bottom line is those two organizations and the nature of their work has kept me going in terms of what is happening around me this time around.
Thank you, Chief Justice. Nothing further.
Commissioner Katana. Just one question. You seriously believe that a judge has a discretion to grant local standi to a litigant?
I may be wrong, but I'm of the view that where the matter is of a public interest, the
Question. We are judging you. You are going to be a judge, isn't it?
Yes.
So we want to know what kind of a judge you are going to have.
Yes,
You seriously believe that when you are a judge, you'll be having a discretion to grant local standard to people?
Not in every.
Sorry?
Honorable Chief Justice.
Answer my question, please. It's a simple question.
Not in every case.
No, not in even that one case. You believe that you will have as a judge discretion to grant local standard to a litigant.
If the matter is of a public interest, Judge.
I don't care what is the matter. I'm caring about the power of a judge. Do you seriously believe that a judge has the power to use his discretion to grant local standard to a litigant?
Perhaps the use of the word discretion or the response in relation to the word discretion might be misplaced.
So what do we do with you? With your statement, are you withdrawing it?
I'm probably qualifying it in respect to public.
What do you mean qualifying?
Matters.
Is it qualifiable?
I will withdraw it, Honorable Chief Justice.
All right, thank you. We have come to the end of your interview.
Thank you.
You are
Honorable
excused.
Chief Justice. Thank you.